The next topic is something we kind of touched on, and we said it's going to be a reoccurring segment. We talked about the evolution of a franchise, and we talked about Prince of Persia.
That's right.
This time, we're going to talk about one of your favorite franchises. We're going to talk about the evolution of Mario Kart.
I mean, Mario Kart is arguably one of the greatest racers of all time, if not the greatest racer of all time. You can dispute that all you want. I know some people don't like it, but you can just also look at the sales numbers. I mean, it's huge. Million sellers constantly, over, multiple millions of sellers. Like the biggest game on the Nintendo Switch. Get the hell out of here. It's gigantic. It's gigantic for a reason because it's fantastic. But let's talk about the evolution of it, right? So Super Mario Kart started back on the Super Nintendo. 16-bit era, colorful graphics. We got all that good stuff.
It was fun. I remember when it came out. It was different. It was like, okay, Mario in like a little racing game. Oh, okay, cute, you know. But it was fun.
Look, my neighbor had it next door. I didn't have a Super Nintendo until later on. I was a Genesis kid, but whenever I went over to his house, that was a go-to. Like Mario Kart was probably the number one game we played over there. That and like Mario World and some other stuff, but Mario Kart was like a constant. Like battle mode, racing, it didn't matter. It's fun every day of the week.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. Like I said, it was different at the time. It was like, huh, okay, this is actually pretty fun.
Yeah, this one was in 2D. It had a Grand Prix mode, time trials, and a battle mode.
Mm-hmm.
Before I go any further, I just want to say that when I was doing some research for this, just to bring back like everything, I did use an article by Gabrielle Castagna, and it was via thegamer.com. The article's titled Mario Kart: How the Game Has Changed Over the Last 30 Years. So if you guys want to find some more information on it, that's where I got a lot of the details of this from. I already knew some of it, but I just wanted to make sure I could speak to it, a little bit better than just my mind from memory alone. Mario Kart 64 introduced colorful 3D graphics, and it had improved terrain. It wasn't just like a flat surface anymore. Interactable backgrounds, and it also introduced weight classes, which were cool. 4-player mode, which is awesome, above the 2-player mode that the Super Nintendo had.
Now I was gonna say that was it. 4-player. Having okay, so we had GoldenEye multiplayer on the 64, and then we got Mario Kart 4-player.
Four
Oh, so much
player. Look, the 4-player mode in the N64 is probably the biggest reason I love it. Granted, I love their single player games too, but
fun.
hopping on there playing Bond 4-player mode, Mario
Mm-hmm.
Kart 4-player mode, dude,
That's
endless
when
hours of fun.
that's when people actually came over each other's houses to play games when it
Oh
was
yeah,
fun.
no online. You got to
No
come over.
online.
You got to bring your friends, drag them in the house. Let's do this, man. Let's do
A lot of
this.
trash talking. It was great. It was great, but definitely a big leap forward from the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64 Mario Kart, which is to be expected. More powerful system, more colorful graphics, gameplay. Playing with the controller took a minute just to get used to because you had the little analog, but you got used to it.
Yeah, this was a huge increase over Super Mario Kart. I love the original Super Mario Kart, but this was vastly superior in just about every single way. One thing that did get introduced that's still with the series, some people can't stand, is the rubber banding effect, where the computer players will not let you get too far without snapping back up and giving you a run for your money, which I kind of understand. Like you don't want to dominate it so badly that you're just cruising through constantly, and like you have no competition if you're playing a single player mode or something. But it's also like if you're doing really good, how come they magically do better all of a sudden? It's uh,
So,
so
okay, before we go any further, I just want to clarify and get your opinion on Mario Kart. Would you classify it as combat racing? Because it does have weapons.
yeah, I guess kind of. I mean, weapons are such a big part of Mario Kart. If you didn't have the
Hmm.
weapons, it would not be near. If you didn't have the weapons, I probably wouldn't care for the game nearly as much as I do.
Okay. It would just be a standard racing game. Because, like, Wipeout, we talked about Wipeout. Wipeout was a combat racing game.
Yeah, yeah, you
So,
had weapons and stuff. Yeah,
Right.
definitely,
So
man.
that's what just wondering. Some people, may not classify that as a combat racer, but
I think I do because I think Blur is very similar to Mario Kart. Blur's also fantastic, but it's like, they have weapons and stuff. It's a
Mhm.
racing game, but they have weapons and stuff, so it has like that Mario Kart feel. And those games are my favorite. Like those ones and like Burnout, like those arcadey style racer games, and then you throw some weapons in there. Oh boy, we're having a good time.
Where do we go from there?
You got Super Mario Kart Circuit. This is a GBA game. Wes, an interesting stat that I found out in this article, which I was not aware of, or at least I didn't realize it. I had this game; it was fantastic. So this was before DLC.
Hmm.
Before the DLC uh, that was given to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Circuit had the most tracks.
Really?
The most tracks. Isn't that crazy? It had 40 tracks.
On the GBA version?
Yes,
I mean, I still have mine, and I played it a lot back then, but I never kept track of how many tracks it had. I didn't think it had that many.
40. I think it had 20, and you had to unlock the other 20, but it had 40 total, which was the most until Mario Kart 8 Deluxe added DLC, which is crazy to think about. This also introduced a quick run mode, which it
Mhm.
allows you to customize rules before starting a race. But that was a fantastic game. I love that Mario Kart on GBA. I played that quite often.
I did too. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Then we move on to Double Dash, which is some people say that it's their favorite Mario Kart game. They're like, "Oh my god, this is the best one! I can't wait! You guys got to bring back the Double Dash style." I'm not that crazy about Double Dash. It's fine. It's fine.
Mm, it's Mario Kart. I mean, I didn't. It's Mario Kart. It's like I don't want to say you either love it or hate it, but it kept a lot of the essence of the Nintendo 64 one. Um, just made it a lot prettier.
Sure.
Uh, Controls a little tighter. I mean, it was fine. It was Mario Kart. So at
Yeah.
this point, this is like what I guess our fourth Mario Kart game since introduction.
If you
Yeah,
count the, one, two, three, four, yeah, fourth
yeah.
one.
Okay. So why
Um,
why isn't it your favorite? What don't you like about it?
I can't. I couldn't even tell you. I remember playing it and just being like, just not into it as much as the 64 one. Not even close. But I did have other systems at that time, which is a problem too. Like before this period of time, I always just had like one system. Like I had an N64 for most of the
Mhm.
life cycle. I got a PS1 super late, and then I got a PS2, a Dreamcast, an Xbox, and a GameCube. I had all of them, so I had a lot of stuff to play. So I'm sure other things were capturing my attention, but
Okay.
before Mario Kart would come out, and that would be like a centerpiece to, I would play it for years. But this one was just like came, played it a few weeks, and it was gone. I don't know why. It just didn't catch my attention that much. But it did have up to 15 players, which most people don't realize. That the GameCube had a LAN adapter option, and you can play up to 15 players with this if you did that. The unique features were two players would occupy one vehicle, and one player drove, the second one was in charge of items. So that's how you
Mhm.
would play the game. It always had two players in your cart.
That was okay. That was actually pretty fun. The two players in one cart. That was fun.
It was cool. It was kind of gimmicky though. It's like this is unnecessary, you know. But it was fine. It's a fine game. Mario Kart DS was next, which was another fantastic handheld entry. This introduced two screens. Obviously, you could play up to 8 players locally. Each player needed a copy of the game, which pissed off some people because I remember at that time they had the ability where one person could have a cart and like two or three or four people could play a game. But Mario Kart, no.
Mhm. Everybody had to have a copy of the original game.
That's right. You all need to get a copy.
ホットマリオ Silver play Silver play Oh no Come on Mamma mia Per favore どんな顔したやつやってんやろなうわうわうわ Wi-Fi 通信で世界中のプレイヤーがライバルだマリオカート DS
Seminal thing for this though, this was the first time you could play Mario Kart through the internet, and
Mm-hmm.
you could do that, or you could play locally, like I just mentioned. This had two screens, so you would obviously race on the top screen, and the bottom screen could show you a couple different things. You could, opt to have it show you an overview of the course or a bird's eye view of your immediate surroundings. So you can kind of switch what the lower screen has, which is kind of convenient. You can see where people are, in relative to you, if they're like, you're close to catching up to someone, or if you're further away, without having to look at like a mini map or something like that. Then we got Mario Kart Wii.
Man, Mario Kart, when the Wii came out, Mario Kart sold millions.
This was, but I think before the Switch version, this was the biggest selling Mario Kart game of all time. The Switch version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is now the biggest selling game of all time. But dude, that Mario Kart on the Wii, so people like don't talk about it as much anymore. That was such a great Mario Kart game,
It
phenomenal Mario
it
Kart.
was. It was. And the big leap was the Wii controller because it came Mario came with like a controller attachment or
Steering
steering
wheel, the
wheel
plastic
attachment.
steering wheel.
Yep, that you put your controller in. Everybody's arms were tired because you were literally like steering it. And by the time the race was over, your arms were like super tired. But oh, so much fun.
But
So much fun.
this is important because this is one instance where the motion controls worked very well. So, like if I just told you they had motion controls and you'd never played it before, you'd be like, "That sounds like ass." That's got to be terrible. But it worked really, really well.
It did. It did.
I almost want to go back and play that version again. I bet you I would still have a blast with it today. I bet you I would. Almost guarantee it. That version also had introduced bikes for the first time. You got motorbikes in there, and then a mode called Coin Runners, which is an optional mode. It's a team-based multiplayer mode that saw players speeding around tracks attempting to collect coins.
Mhm.
Then we got Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS. I didn't have a 3DS, never have, still don't have it, unfortunately. I would like to get one, but they're kind of expensive now, and I don't feel like purchasing a bunch of games for another system. I don't need it. But it is supposed to be pretty good. There were two big additions in this version. It had subaquatic vehicles for the first time, so you could race underwater, and then it introduced the hang gliders. You see those things in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe now, but this was where it started.
Yeah, I picked up a 3DS recently. When I say recently, within the past year. And Mario Kart. I found a boxed copy of Mario Kart, so I did scoop that up.
Heck yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. It's good.
It's like you said, it's Mario Kart. It's not the worst. The worst case it could be is good. It's like the worst case scenario. Like my feelings towards Double Dash. It wasn't bad at all. It was good, but it just didn't blow my mind like some of the other versions did.
Yeah, Mario Kart will always be Mario Kart, which is a good thing.
Now we get to Mario Kart 8, which was on the Wii U. Eventually, this came to the Switch as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, in the past year or so, they've added a thing called the Booster Course Pass. So the game started out with 32 tracks on the Wii U. DLC came to the Wii U version, adding 16 tracks. That version with the 16 plus 32 tracks was the Deluxe Edition for the Switch. Now with the Booster Course, they've added 48 more tracks. So now this is the biggest Mario Kart of all time. Basically, they have, nearly every relevant track that's ever been in a Mario Kart game.
Oh yeah.
The gameplay is absolutely spectacularly. It looks better than ever. I mean, the graphics have improved over the Wii U version. There's bonus racers, additional racers now that weren't in the Wii U version. Different items and abilities have come back. I mean, this really is the definitive version of Mario Kart. Like, I would be fine if the next Switch comes out and they're like, hey, that Mario Kart with the booster pass and all the DLC, here's everything in one package, $60. Go ahead, Nintendo, you can take another $60 from me in a few more years. But what I would love them to do is just keep that and say, here it is, $60, here's all the booster pack courses, here's everything. And then like a year later, I wanted to be like, here's 20 more tracks. And just keep adding to that.
And keep adding tracks.
Don't ever make another Mario Kart. Just keep adding to this one. That's all I want you to do.
Okay, so with that being said, what would you like to see in a new Mario Kart game? We said Mario Kart is great. Mario Kart is Mario Kart. It's always going to be great. But if the new Nintendo system comes out and they give us Mario Kart, what would you like to see in the next Mario Kart game?
Additional characters that are not from Nintendo that
Mhm.
make sense to be somewhat in that environment. And I'll give you an example. I don't want to see Captain Marvel in Mario Kart. That's stupid.
Okay.
Give me weird things. Give me like a Tom and Jerry. Throw that in Mario Kart. That makes sense. The classic cartoons that are like really not on the Cartoon
Mhm.
Network anymore. Throw some of those characters in there. That makes more sense for Mario Kart. Nickelodeon characters makes more sense for Mario Kart. But I don't want to see superheroes. For God's sakes, I don't want to see a single superhero in Mario Kart.
No, no, definitely not.
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? Give me Ren and Stimpy. Holy crap. Give me Ren and Stimpy in Mario Kart.
Or Beavis and Butthead.
Give me Beavis and Butthead. That's all I want. I mean, what else do you really want? I mean, keep making great design courses, you
Hmm.
know, and give me more characters, more customizable things. I mean, you can customize the wheels now. You can customize your cart. You can
Yep.
customize your hang glider. I mean, I don't know what else. I don't really want anything else. You know what is fun though? I did play this once. That I played Mario Kart in the arcade. That is
Hmm.
spectacular. Lots of fun.
I've seen it at the place down here, Lucky Snake, but I have not played it because
Oh, it's a blast.
someone's always on it. So I was like, oh,
There's a reason someone's always on it. It's fantastic. Having a wheel, having all that stuff. I mean, really, if they can make the motion controls like work really well, I'd
mhm.
probably do that again. I think you can actually do that on the Switch version, but I haven't tried it, so maybe I should give that a shot.
Okay.
What would you want?
Oh man, you know what? There's nothing I could think of. I mean, you hit it perfectly when you said extra characters that make sense because Mario Kart 8 or on the Switch gives us everything we ever needed.
Hmm.
I really after that I can't think of anything else. I really can't.
No, and there's no reason for them to change everything. But can you imagine now, after having all of this, a new Switch comes out, and it's supposedly, if you guys didn't know, if you know, I'm sure most of you know if you're watching this, but 2024 is the rumor now. Like
Mhm.
by second quarter of 2024, the new Switch will be out, or whatever they're going to call it.
Right.
Can you imagine if they're like, "Here's a new Mario Kart. It has 12 tracks and 16 characters." What the hell is that? You can't do that to me. Not after this.
No, not after 8. No.
It would be like if Smash Brothers came out after this last one, after Smash Brothers Ultimate, and they were like, "We have 40 characters to start with." People would lose their minds. What do you mean 40 characters? You had like 87 in the last one. What do you mean 40? You know, like I don't know. That's why
Yeah.
I also don't think they should make a new Smash Brothers. They should just take Ultimate, maybe add some new characters in it, get the license for all those
Mhm.
characters back. You guys don't need to do anything else. Just copy paste and add some stuff. That's it.
Oh, but everything's a money grab. I could see them doing by way of like Killer Instinct or Dead or Alive, where they'll give you a core set of characters, and then you have to buy the character expansion packs to get more characters. I could see that being a thing.
I mean, I hope not. I think you're probably right.
And I could,
You're
and I
probably
could, I could see that being a thing for Mario Kart. It's like I could see them giving us when the new Mario Kart comes out, giving us X amount of tracks, X amount of characters, X amount of carts, and then you have to buy the next expansion to get more tracks, more characters, and then they'll keep making their money that way.
We'll see. I hope not, but you're probably right. I mean, look at what they do with the retro games. They slowly leak them out for a subscription service now when we once had a virtual console, which we were paying for, by the way. People were paying for
Mhm.
games on virtual console. No, had no problem with it, but you had such a breadth to choose from. You had everything on there. Now you have like no choice. They're just like, hey, pay us this money every month, and we'll give you a couple games. Here's a few more. Here's a little taste.
Yep.
And you don't get to pick what it is. It's there for you automatically. I think it's fine. I think the money you pay for, they're giving you some quality stuff. But I'd much rather have a virtual console where you give me all sorts of things from all sorts of consoles over time, and I could just buy what I want.
Agreed.
But it would
Agreed.
also be nice if those things came with me. If I could still play those virtual console games, that would be kind of cool. If you stop pulling that crap, I could play my original Xbox game still. Come on, Nintendo.
Make Matt happy.
They're just going to take more of my money. They always do. All right, guys. So there you have it. That's the evolution of Mario Kart. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, quick shout out to thegamer.com. That's where we got a lot of the information from. Go over there to check out more about Mario Kart's evolution.